Hello everybody, welcome to the Praetorian. Today, I'm Roger Hanson, and today I am going to just do a topic which is a part of my notes and everything of a conversation that I had on August the 29th of 2014. It was something that I found interesting. So I decided to copy it and someday be able to write something with it, but so far I haven't really had the time to do it, so I'm just going to make it a conversation about what what my thoughts are and everything. I'll read out the comments and stuff and maybe put a little 2 cents in after 5 years of going over a lot of this stuff, so I'm going to go ahead and start it then. The topic, or the name of this video, is a new form of politics you didn't know about. Now they're having teachers do the dirty work. And this has been an old conversation, so I really don't know exactly what that's about. It could be something that I found in the conversation. Maybe, maybe not. Let's go ahead and do it. Alright, so here we go. Okay, the conversation, Bill McGarvey, April 27, 2014. Let's open up the debtor's prison once again. They're pulling out all the stops, dumb them down, since smart folks are not easily controlled, manipulated to serve their multi-faceted, nefarious agenda. They've got this nefarious agenda, you know. It seems like everybody who's conservative is like dumb people, but Democrats and the liberals, they've got like this intelligence and they understand nefarious agenda. I think that it's in a lot of ways that people, it seems to me that it's odd, or it's odd to me that they're attacking tobacco industries, which I don't endorse tobacco whatsoever, one bit. It's an addiction, I get that, but they do that, and still yet you can go out and buy a 15 or 30 pack of beer for the same it cost 10, 15 years ago. You know what I mean? That's insane. No, you're wanting to talk about freaking cigarettes causing cancer, but nobody wants to talk about the freaking accidents that happen and the domestic violences that occur, or the street violence that occurs because of alcoholism. Now legal marijuana. Okay, so marijuana isn't a gateway drug anymore. I mean, make up your mind, you know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, not a gateway, we're just good on the taxes and stuff like that. But we get a kick out of that. That's what I always hear, you know. People who can't be controlled or manipulated to serve their multi-faceted nefarious agenda. He's probably sitting there saying that while he's drinking a beer. Poor people, that's their luxury, you know. Something needs done to control idiots like the Koch crowd. You loony... Wait, who was that? That was Gilbert Daniel. Or the Koch crowd, maybe. I don't know. You loony libtards will say anything to demoralize those who you disagree with. Absolutely shameless. And that is coming from George Vlad. Sweatshops are good and EPA is bad. Okay. Then we have ATR. No loony libtards will say anything to demoralize those who want to destroy this country by turning it into a I know this word. I used to know somebody in the Wolfpack that used to say that all the time. Plutocratic fiefdom, yeah. Alright. So, let's move on. Cold beer. That's Adam Foster. Alright, and then I made a comment. I said, shall the tower fall again? Some would ask, will we ever know the truth? Pray to God, and yet they worship the mighty Alec, selling their souls for K-12 and corruption. Tell us that you are really working on our educational system, please, O mighty warriors, that instead of just free lunches for every kid, our children are going to be educated. Why must you send your gold to the elite and sell out your cause? Why must we build your mighty tower of lies while you live your extravagant life in the name of charity? Who are you? Why are the doors always closed? We live in a country that says we are free, yet too ignorant to govern ourselves. From the evidence presented, though, this could be fact. Living a life of ignorance, playing follow the leader, and keeping silent while injustices are being committed. Stay in your comfort, confused preference with values. Stay in the ghettos and housing authorities behind locked doors. When you prevent yourselves from expression, you serve the Master, Almighty Alec. Let the ignorance of many be the fruit of the few, and the salvation of the rich and the powerful. Reasoning is ineffective against tyranny, so don't educate yourself, because if you do, then truth is presented and elections are affected. We will take surveys and do polls to make you feel comfort once more, so that you see that your taxes are being spent wisely. Work and become a part of community. Serve the cause and be safe without the true knowledge of just how free you really are. We are here to protect and make you upright and just, catering to your vanity, hate, and calling it belief, faith, and morality. Speak our language and learn our way, because intolerance will not be tolerated. We are watching too, categorized and marketed, censored and publicized. We will beat you with laws that we create and convict you without sovereignty. Laws are now created behind closed doors. It is me that after almost 3 generations of the same lies, one war after the next, the Obama's telling assassinating Arabs and illegally since the event at the Olympics of almost 50 years ago. The people in our country still falls for their lies when they bold-faced say each time they bomb. Israel has done it over and over again repeatedly. If you believe are doing these things for God, you are mistaken. You are as corrupt as the Zionists that are perpetuating it. There is a difference between Semitic and Zionists as well. Learn the difference. These people want you to believe they represent the Jews, and they do not. Nobody sees the crowds of Israel protesting the bombings. Nobody sees the NIF working to unite Jews and Muslims. Zionists like Erwin Black selling the message of Zionism, speaking out against such groups that would betray their people for the enemy. It is sickening that people in our country still believe these lies and haven't learned yet that it is lies being fed to us by less than 2% than a 2% United States population that has even less of a population of Jews that are actually Zionists. It's time to wake up and stop the hate. Stop allowing people to use our country for a safety net. Find no sanctuary in your lies and deceit. Now, when I was doing that, I was going over Benunu and a lot of stuff that involved, and a lot of people, let me clarify something about Semitic, okay? When you hear people talk about being anti-Semitic, they're really ignorant when it comes to what Semitic is, okay? Assyrians, okay, over in Syria, people don't understand Syrians are Semitic people, okay? Israel has an area within its borders called Asher, which was a part of Assyria, which Syria controlled, and these were all Semitic people. And as a matter of fact, even during the biblical times, Asher was actually spoke of highly. They were never a part of the actual, grouping of the Israelites or the Jews, and I don't know what the reason for that was, but they were actually Semitics. It's just like with the Sumerians, okay? You had the Aryans that were Sumerians, but you also had Semitic people within Sumer, alright? And it was a mixed culture of Aryan and Semitics. As a matter of fact, Babylon was a Semitic city. I'm pretty sure it was Babylon. It was Babylon or one of the two. But you had both groups that were there, and Semitics are spread all the way through the Middle East. It's not just in Israel. Okay, so first of all, that's one thing that I have to make a point on. You have to look at it in on those levels, okay? Most of these people who are calling people anti-Semitics don't really know what they're saying, because people they're fighting against are Semitics too. So it's just something that I wanted to put out there. And I'm not anti-Semitic, I just don't believe in a lot of the things that took place before, during, and even after World War II. I believe that a lot of that was covered up, and back during this time I was pretty hyped up on it, and I wrote a really, really long comment there about it. And then Alec that is really disgusting. If you ever want to find out about some disgusting things, man, find out about ALEC. It's an acronym, and it's ALEC, really, but I call it ALEC. Type that into your search engine and see what that's about. Okay. So, George Vlad, after I said that comment, made a comment to Millennius Gandalf. Just to clarify my position as a libertarian, we will criticize and point out the demons, i.e. those who would force us against another person's life, liberty, and property. That's all. And then Josh Cavender, do people really believe this stupidity? Well, G Plus is becoming more like FB every day. No, G Plus is no longer. Okay, so Peter Jaskowiak. So Koch brothers are evil, huh? How about the liberal unions who are protesting their charitable donations to hospitals? The EPA is bad. It allows for crony capitalism through lobbying and money. It is just another regulatory agent like anything else. Well, I believe that's true when it comes to the energy. It's one of the highest positions in Congress that you could be elected or appointed to. They appoint their members according to representatives and I think senators. It might be just one or the other, but if you get on that board, then you're cream of the crop. You're getting good money. They're going to pay you, and that's just general knowledge. I also feel the same way about the FCC. At this time right here, when I'm writing this, I actually agreed with net neutrality, and then I started putting two and two together and figuring a lot of stuff out about that. You know, they came out with these promises that they were going to freaking turn the internet into a utility and that we would have fair internet. It wouldn't be, there wouldn't be slowdowns and stuff like that. But whenever, you know, net neutrality was passed during the Obama administration, I noticed that freaking we were still getting slowdowns. They didn't have the hard slowdowns where they just cut you off after a certain amount of gigabytes were used, but they did an extreme slowdown when you got to a certain amount of gigabytes. And if you wanted that back, a chunk of gigabytes, you had to pay like 10 or 15 extra bucks. You know, and I'm like, hold on, man. So I contacted them, and they said, no, that has nothing to do with net neutrality. We can get away with that, you know. So they did absolutely nothing that was useful for the consumer. These corporations were still getting away with ripping people off, and that was my big problem. To me, I even checked into it even more, because when I wanted to make these videos, I had issues with lag and everything, and I had to literally go through and find out for myself how to do all this. And the one thing that I figured out in the end was my bit rates, and it was my internet speed. So I called up Frontier, which I use for an internet provider, and they're associated with AT&T, and come to find out, I can't even get more than 1 gigabyte or 1 millibyte per second on upload speed for my network, because we're set up on DSL and we still have copper. You know, during all that time the net neutrality was in place, not one time did they enforce any kind of utilities issues where these cable companies had to go out and literally change wiring and stuff over from copper into fiber optics. None of that was being done. You know, it's like it was just there so that they could use it for censoring and, you know, saying what can and cannot be broadcast and stuff like that. And it's becoming more relevant today since they lost net neutrality, because now, like YouTube and Facebook and all these websites are starting to really come down on censor, and they're saying that they're being pressured and stuff like that, and that's not the case. You know what I'm saying? It's like they're just completely full of it. They were doing this stuff way before all this, back whenever freaking they started messing around with the monetization programs and stuff like that with YouTube and stuff like, you know, it's crazy. But anyhow, to me, that's what it seemed like, so I will move on. Okay. Now, he goes on to say, sweatshops only exist because China allows them to. Protest China, not the companies, American companies that use sweatshops couldn't compete if they didn't. The smartest people in the world, the 999 society, tend to align with libertarian beliefs. Well, yeah, I guess libertarian beliefs, but, you know, libertarians don't agree with sweatshops. So that's kind of crazy. And I always get kicked out of people who call themselves libertarian and then they run on a Republican ticket. You know what I'm saying? That's just complete garbage. if you ain't got the balls to stand up for the party you actually support, then you're not a libertarian. I mean, it's just like Bernie Sanders running on the Democratic Party, and he's a freaking Green Party. Or no, he's an independent, is what he claims. But he favors the Green Party, you know? And then he runs on a Democratic ticket. After his supporters freaking get screwed, what does he do? He hands his money over to Hillary Clinton to run against Trump. Now come on, dude, seriously, wake up. It's a smoke screen. They're blowing smoke up your butt. As opposed to public education curriculum, which is already dominated by ideology. Sounds like someone is just upset by competing ideas. So, now we're talking about what? Went from the EPA to sweatshops to the education curriculum, which is already dominated by ideology. No, I don't think so. If the government creates rules that certain working conditions must be met, then this artificially manipulates the market, which goes against human action and only results in misallocation of resources. No, it interferes with bargaining, which is, you basically, I did this in one of my previous videos, where you create a third party which takes away the free bargaining between employer and employee. Okay, that means that your worth is less because you don't have to freaking, you know, you don't argue against the boss because the union does that for you. So all of a sudden your value, the labor that you put into your job, is no longer as valuable as what it used to be. So, with that said, from a non-economic perspective, forcing anyone to do anything they do not wish to do is morally wrong. Each individual owns themselves, their actions, and their property. To violate any of these three is a violation, is to violate them all, since they are interchangeable. I can work, thereby spending life and liberty to obtain property. I can trade property to hire someone to do work in my stay, thereby gaining time to do something else. Why does it somehow become acceptable when we have government act upon others with force for us? Yeah, that's kind of messed up. How dare someone learn about different opinions? They might learn to think and reason. Alright. Utilitarian perspective. Alright, conservation. No conversation. Okay. You mean the way you belittle others instead of actually adding substance to the conversation. Yeah. I can see that. Okay. Okay. And Peter Jezkowicz, he says to Clifford Hinckley, to be fair, he did insult you, but the Koch brothers are evil. Therefore, everything they fund must be evil. It is a very old, invalid, and annoying argument, and those who use it kind or deserve to be put down. Yeah. I think I'm figuring out a new kind of government chats. These guys, I had 3/4 of them probably don't even vote. They're just on there to smack talk. But, you know, get on and say that stuff. They do all the time. That's the one thing that's annoying to me, you know. None of them talk about serious issues and have a serious conversation, and it all refers to their political BS. You just see them, you know, spill all this political jargon out. You can recognize it from a long ways away. Some liberal talking about a utopian society, or frickin' somebody, you know, standing up for the Koch brothers. The Koch brothers frickin' are against emissions here in the United States because they make money off of it, but here over in Europe they support it 100%, and that's because they're making money off of it over there with the energy, you know, and freaking environment and stuff like that. They'll sell themselves out anywhere they have to so they can make a buck. I hear you. Just voicing as clearly as I can at any instance of deviation from NAP. Alright, now I made a comment here. Nobody has even commented on ALEC, and that is because of the ignorance of it. Nobody understands that what you have said is nothing more than the same recycled crap that has been said over and over again. ALEC has had their greedy little paws on every inch of the legislature from state all the way up to the White House. They are corporate as well as politicians. They use money to bully their laws into effect and behind closed doors. Both parties are involved too. Yet let's turn a blind eye to that and make it a party issue. Democrats were so upset over Hobby Lobby. Whenever Hobby Lobby did that thing about over a gay employee, that's what this was all about. Where one of the previous things happened. And here it is close to the decision for Congress to continue working with the Import-Export Bank, and Obama endorses them with a presidential speech. Come on, serious? Yeah. The Import-Export Bank. You know, I mean, that's where it's all really at, you know. If you really want to know what's going on with ALEC and all that, and people just supporting this stuff, I mean, the president is the one who endorses it. I mean, we don't really have a say in it. You know, best you can do is contact your representative and say, hey, I don't want you to endorse it. If you get 4 or 5 people that's willing to call up your representative, then he'll actually start listening. And I know that's actually true because I was a part of the Wolf Act, but I stopped doing that, and there's a reason for it. I think I made some videos. I'm not sure if I did, but I'm going to get around to getting it done, and you'll understand. But it's pretty messed up how things work. Okay, please list the details of the public school agenda. Seriously, list it. State what is taught in public schools that meets the criteria dominated by ideology. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Paul Delano said that. It's true. There is no ideology in schools anymore. It's just not a part of the educational system. Okay, Peter Jezkalak never claimed the Koch brothers were evil. On another note, has anyone seen the libertarian agenda that one of the Koch brothers was running for office in the 80s? I guess I posted a video on that one. And I'm not doing videos because I don't want to get in trouble for copyright infringement. Jerome Kill. The mere fact that the public school system exists, i.e. a socialized educational program, means that the free market in education has been manipulated. The Department of Education has guidelines that must be followed in order to receive funding. These guidelines manipulate the curriculum. The specifics of what and how it is manipulated are unimportant. What is important is that the market has been manipulated and the rights of the individuals at large have been violated in the order of fund said manipulations. Let me ask you, seriously, do you believe you own yourself, or do you believe someone has a higher claim on you than you? Also, do you extend the right to those around you, i.e., do you think others own themselves? Looking forward to your reply. Thank you. And George Vlad, that was an excellent response. Alright. George Vlad, wrong. The specifics are of utmost importance. Okay, this is Jerome Till saying to George Vlad, wrong. The specifics are of utmost importance. If making a claim, support the claim you make with details and facts. Demonstrate where an endeavor to indoctrinate or bias students is at play in the aim of to educate the public through the public school setting. It would seem to me that the attempt to make a case that such an effort is underway or exists is strengthened by facts rather than weakened by them. Segues into commentary about free market and deflating rather than reflective of an attempt to earnest account of for the reality. In interest of disclosure, I've worked both the private and public school settings. Okay, you know that you are full of shit, or crap I should say, I'm sorry. When you see on the news that teachers are letting their kids do walkouts and giving them A's for going to protests at a public university in a public school and giving them credit for it, then you know that there's something going on there. You know that this isn't what you want your child to learn. If you're wanting your child to learn this stuff, then you are messed up in the head, okay? Because first and foremost thing that a child should be learning when they go to school on our tax dollars is education. That means they take their butts to school, they sit in those desks, they listen, they do their work, and when they come home, they should have homework, and they should do their homework. It is not a popularity contest. It is not who's freaking cool and who's not, who gets to go to the dance, or who gets to go and be a part of the basketball, football, or soccer team. It's about going to school, getting straight A's, not freaking straight F's and straight D's, okay? And after that, when they've achieved that, after high school, they need to take their butts to frickin' college so that they can get a degree, because high school diplomas don't mean nothing. Okay? Now, when you see these people turning your children into frickin' subversive people who frickin' want to go out and protest about something that they know absolutely nothing about, instead of going to school, sitting in them desks and doing what they're told, then you know something's wrong, okay? Now, I'm pretty sure these people that started out, I've done videos on this, on the 1800s with the transcendentalists of the 1800s, and, you know, they had really high-minded ideas, but I don't believe that they wanted it to go as far as what it's gone. I think that a lot of these regulations and everything that's been put down on these schools is ridiculous. And I also believe that the whole idea behind school, it has completely just deteriorated. I mean, it's about learning. Okay, if those kids do not want to learn, I personally don't think they should be there. I don't think that we should have government that forces kids to go to school against their will. And the majority of parents, okay, they don't even care about their kids getting an education or not. Just being honest, okay? So, you've got kids who are being forced to go to school by their parents, because if they don't take and force their kids to go to school, they will end up in court, and they will lose their child and end up in jail. Okay? This is happening all over the country because the kids skip school, parents lose their kids, or they freaking send them off to some special school where they're regulated and watched, and the parents have to take classes and pay the government and the courts because their kids skip school, and if they don't, they go to jail. This is all going on because the government says that you have to force your kid to go to school, and then they don't want to be there in the first place, and boom, all of a sudden they're pulling out guns and shooting kids all over the freaking campus. And you're wondering, oh, why did that happen? Why did that happen? It's because you're forcing your kids to do stuff they don't even want to do. Okay, that's just my personal view on it. You have kids that have mental disorders. You have kids that have freaking issues that don't really need to be around other kids. And if they don't want to be around other kids, don't force them to. Don't force parents to send their kids to school when they really don't care. The only reason why they send them is because they don't want to get in trouble. They care less. And everybody thinks, oh, that's not the positive way of thinking. Well, you know what? It's the parents' job to put their foot up their kid's butt and tell them to get the butt to school. It's not the government's responsibility. If you care about your kid's education, you will make sure that they get their butt up and they go to school. There should be no law saying that you need to make your kid go to school. So, that's on you, okay? And you're wasting taxpayers' money. That is. I mean, it's getting pathetic when a high school graduate who spent every single day of his life going to school and not missing a day with straight A's decides he's not going to go to college, wasting freaking all those years in school. Why does that happen? You got to ask yourself. Okay, I could understand if it was like me. I made D's and sometimes C's, you know what I'm saying? But this kid is a straight A student and just decides he's not going to go to college. Community college, something, you know what I'm saying? But, come on. That's when you know the education system's failing. Okay. Wayne Lowford. He says, if you believe this story, you also believe there is a yellow brick road, wizard, tin man, cowardly lion, scarecrow, couple of witches, and oh yes, let's not forget flying freaking monkeys. George Vlad. To Jeremy Till. If someone is walking around doing harm to persons or property, would it be best to stop them or bicker about their motives? The facts that they are a manipulative force in a would-be free market can be disputed. George Vlad from Jeremy Till. On the scale of manipulation forces in a would-be free market, where do you place public education? What else do you group into the amorphous designation? Across the spectrum, where does public school education for you exist? Do you rate it in the highest, at the middle, or the base? Is it considered the chief of all sinners? And then I commented, from what I have heard, it involves K-12. Jeb Bush's failed attempt at revolutionizing Florida's educational system with a person from West Virginia, I believe. There were gifts given to state and federal reps and senators by ALEC in order to get bills passed nationwide that weren't even involved with education. Corporations were monopolizing off of ALEC to stop deals, making voting harder, and they did it all behind closed doors. According to contractual theory, no, I do not believe we own ourselves. We are citizens of this country. When we are born and our parents sign our birth certificates, give up certain freedoms to the federal government in exchange for sovereignty. We have freedom according to our own conscience, which means if we do what we feel is right, then we are free. But if we do what we feel is wrong, and we know it is wrong, the sovereignty has a right to put us in check, punish us, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. I also believe that still to this day. And the one thing that I also keep forgetting every time I say stuff like that is, like, that doesn't apply to people with mental illnesses or mental retardation. When they find out that you can't determine right from wrong, you automatically give up your right to own yourself. They take custody of you, basically, and that is the truth, and it's still that way to this day. This whole thing about being a juvenile or a kid, you know what I mean? A lot of people don't understand that kids are actually considered probate, and I was talking a second ago about parents getting in trouble and kids being put in foster care and stuff like that. And what else? Another thing that I didn't mention either is the fact that parents don't have to be brought up on a crime. They can be brought to civil court, and their kids can be taken away from them without any crime being committed. Right? And the reason why they do that is, to this day, kids are still considered probate. Now, probate is like when two people get divorced from one another, okay? Probate is the property that they own, which is being separated. And they consider, your kid is still considered, even if you're still together, they're still considered probate. And that means that they can literally take you to court on a civil charge and take away your kid because they're taking property away from you. And that's what the federal government considers kids to this day. They consider them property. So that's another thing I always keep forgetting to talk about. People with mental illnesses, mental retardation, minors, all that. I mean, it's sad. It really is. Okay, George Vlad. Jeremy Till, public education is as much a manipulator in the market of education as is the police in the market of protecting services. I argue that neither serve their stated roles very well, and both cost the unwilling taxpayer, both financial and socially, both in negative ways, I might add. It is really simple. Anywhere force is used to violate a person's life, liberty, or property, you will find the state acting. In these instances, you will find people worse off than they otherwise would. But who would provide the education? Who would provide the roads? We cannot see these solutions because we've all been brought up by the same institutions that sponsor them with our sole individual resources, mind you, with our stolen individual resources. Example: two little ladies in Soviet Russia standing on a long bread line, hoping there will be some left when they get their turn. One says to the other, "I hear the American government doesn't even provide them with bread." The other says, "The poor souls, they must be starving to death." Pardon the story, but I think it explains clearly what I mean. Please let me know if you feel otherwise. It's like, and then I responded, it's like talking to a brick wall. Sorry guys, you're wrong. The corruption has already been discovered and has been known for quite some time now. I posted the link to the information if you need to see it. If you want the answers to your questions. That's all. That is all. Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of this to me was just I mean, it's good topic and conversation, but I don't even know why I named it this, to be honest with you. Okay, Jeremy Till. He says to George Vlad, I generally appreciate anecdote and apocryphal tales. I enjoy strong metaphor and lessons that can be derived and distilled by conjuring hypothetical scenarios or a moral. However, in this conversation, they fall to meaningfully account for or to provide a useful comparative for me, especially when the information that would be most beneficial exists either as demonstrated fact or they don't. Again, you would have everyone believe that activities nefarious and antagonist to learning are intentioned and are taking place in the public school endeavor based on belief that you are rather than offering definable and measurable evidence. I've seen egregious attempts at indoctrination in private school settings and have been subjected to them, rarely in the endeavor of public education. Admittedly, I've seen horrible teachers in administration in both. Conversely, I've encountered amazing professionals as well. You know, I actually checked into all that too, and I mentioned earlier on this chat about K-12, and there's a story behind it that's pretty interesting. A lot of the stockholders back before did a lawsuit on them because they were getting students in the chairs, and every time they got somebody on their internet teaching programs, they got paid for each student that was there. So when they got bad grades and because they weren't getting on and doing their homework or their work, they would string them along and leave them on the roll call for as long as they could get away with it, and till finally they couldn't keep them anymore, and then they would just let them go, and they'd have to go back to public schools. And when they went back to the public schools, they found out that they were a lot worse off than what they were before they actually went to K-12. They were handing their stockholders all these reports saying that they were bringing in all these students and everything, but then they were holding back the grade averages and how well they were actually doing, you know, and the amount of students that were actually not succeeding, you know. They were basically leaving information out, and the stockholders ended up suing them, so they got in a lot of trouble over that. And I went in and started checking on a lot of these private schools. There isn't much difference. I mean, I know a lot of people say, oh yeah, 3% means a lot, but I think the highest difference in percentage between putting your kid in a public school and a private school is like a 3% difference. The student has a 3% better chance of getting an education in a private school than in a private school or a public school, and it's only 3%. I think it's up in the 50%, like 51 to 53 or some stuff like that, but it's not there's not a big gap. Okay, so Dia Mortensen says, so stocking our colleges with hardcore liberals is okay, but this is bad. You're biased you're not biased at all. George Vlad. Jeremy Till, you employed, hopefully without realizing, a straw man argument. My argument is not that the state-sponsored education system is evil and therefore should be eradicated. My argument is that the state-sponsored education system is funded in an immoral and illegitimate way. While I give you points for an eloquently written reply, a good paint job does not make a speedy car. I must ask, do you believe I have the highest right to my own body and thereby granted me highest rights to my own life, liberty, and property? Jeremy Till. By the way, the existence of private schools nullifies the argument that public schools eliminate or somehow solely interrupt the infringe on a free market. Okay, Roger Hanson. Free market is school. Free market in schools is the corruption. Evan R. The dumbing down continues. Evidently, from comment of this post, is not new. Municipal. And I replied, the fact that anyone thinks it is alright to monopolize the education system for political and economical gain is immoral. That in itself is corrupt, and you are dummied down. Cases on top of cases are being brought up to the day against multinational corporations for doing so. Marty DeMichel, it must be true. It's on the internet. Talk about dumbing down. Progressive liberal Democrats are mindless sheep and a detriment to society. Yeah. Okay. George Vlad said to me, I +1 what you said, but likely not what you meant. How is the free market the problem if a free market does not exist? Then I replied, did you just read the article link I just posted? You will see that they are using FCAT scores to give benefits to schools according to scores that do good and penalize the ones who don't do well. Then they're trying to get rid of public schools for private altogether and implement K-12, again making profit. And then George Vlad said to Jeremy Till, BTW. The existence of private schools nullifies any argument that public schools eliminate or somehow interrupt and infringe on the free market. The fact that a woman can still have sex with her husband is then proof that a rape did not take place. This is the best equivocation and fallacious. To impede does not mean to necessarily stop. I'd argue that private schools would be much more common and diverse if public schools' monoculture was uprooted and discarded. The free market would also drive the cost of said schooling down, as it does in all instances, past, present, and future, where it is not forced to compete with the artificial monopoly, the one produced by the state. Okay. And then Jeremy Till, George Floyd, you really need to work on your analogies. Okay, separation of school and state is the prerequisite for the free market in education. The minute government is involved, there is no free market. Anything other than free market is in education is tyranny. It is no different from an official state religion. And I said, but see then, that brings an underhanded politician like Governor Bob Wise, who has been underhanded with education. He was also found to have committed adultery while and on through review now for NEEP design like K-12 legislature pays off like the one that Alec was involved in concerning voter ID laws and backed by beer and wine wholesalers. They use SLLF too. It's an entire of corruption. They were involved in the state strong programs and pushed for term limits in exchange for favors. And Bobby Harrell removed himself from investigation for a grand jury investigation. Yeah. I remember reading about all that. Okay, Jeremy Vlad to Jerome Till. Am I to assume you do not understand me? Your reply does not make that clear. And then George Vlad to Jeremy of a teachers union. Then Jeremy Hill to George Vlad. We both agree that we don't agree and that we're going to agree any time soon. Utility isn't my preferred activity. You have a rather mythic notion of free market and celebrate an ideological position that I don't adopt, nor will I anytime soon, where you diminish a legitimate role of government towards citizenry through public education and protection, policing purposes. I do not. I'm not of your opinion. The article does what you do not. It provides detail and facts of an overt attempt to introduce into the public school setting and learning environment information on behalf of a specific interest. The article articulates sufficiently the circumstances and offers a chance for a reader to evaluate and measure its credibility. When I ask you a specific question, you generalize. Where I generalize, you demand specificity. I always have a hard time with that word. It's a tiresome and inane interaction. All these damn school teachers with their words. Inane. Now I gotta go to the frickin' dictionary, figure out what the heck they're talking about. Yeah. See, this is intellectual bickering. It's a good conversation, but it's just, that's all it's really done. It's gone down. It's digressed. Okay, drill Terrell to join Vlad. No, I'm not a member of a union, not of a church. In Marlenius Gandalf, some things are not meant for the free market. Healthcare and education. Jose Ignacio Mauro, wrong. All things are meant for free markets and freedom. No things are meant for government and tyranny. There is no such thing as a service that only government can provide, or, for that matter, a service that government should provide. Marlenius Gandalf to Jose Ignatius Mauro. Police? Fire? Military? Why do tyranny and government always go together for you? A free market health system is exactly the mess we have now. Your life is determined by a profit. You are nothing more than dollars to your health provider. So if the police are run by a private company, then it would be that much easier to corrupt. But then again, why not? Our government is already up for the highest bidder now. And then I commented, let me post this link again. Maybe this time the conservatives will look at it and tell us why they consent to it. And they can figure out why there are also Democrats that are involved as well. Yeah, this is back when I was pushing the whole OWL thing. I'm pretty sure of it. Or yeah, that's what it is. Jose Ignacio Mora says to Marlenius Gandalf, wrong on all counts. None of the services you mentioned can only be provided by government. Yes, government is tyranny because ignorance at gunpoint or by counterfeiting anything funded by force or fraud is tyranny. Therefore, government is tyranny. Healthcare. What does our current or recent healthcare have to do with a free market? We don't have a free market. We haven't had one for decades. If we ever had one at all. If you think health and care, if you think the care mess is the result of a free market, then you simply don't have a clue as to what free market is. I'm gonna go ahead and end all this. It just gets really crazy. And yeah, I'm probably way over time too. How much time have I got on this thing already? Well, I'm gonna go ahead and just end this. I will bring up another topic. It's pretty good stuff though. It's only an hour and 5 minutes, but I'm going to end up having to live stream this instead of putting it up as a recording. But yeah, that's probably what the name of the post I was making comments on. It was on G+. I'm not on G+ anymore. As a matter of fact, nobody is. They ended up dropping Google+ because of security reasons. Apparently, they had a lot more going on than what people was aware of, so they had to give that up. Just to say it politely. I'm not really wanting to cause any trouble anymore on the internet like I used. Well, I never really did, believe it or not. Just some of the stuff I said about socialism, you know, and I'll still talk about that too. But I just wanted to make a video that was more laid back and something that I could talk about. Maybe go through some old conversations, because I have a lot of them, and I'm gonna make a lot more of them too. So, well, not. I'm going to make a lot more videos about these conversations and put my point of view on them. But if you liked what you've seen, please like, subscribe, share, make comments, give some feedback, keep the conversation going, you know. Feedback is welcome. And thank you for watching.